Welcome to Can You Smoke It? My name is Thad Denthrift and owner-operator of Little Nick's Barbecue.
And I'm Andrew Plett, owner of Pletsky Productions.
And this is our second episode of Can You Smoke It? And today we got a special treat in store for you.
That's right, we're going to be smoking a, wait for it, Chicago-style pizza.
That's right. In our first episode, we smoked a brisket-stuffed, bacon-wrapped beef meatloaf, which we like to call our famous Triple B meatloaf.
And today we're going to be tackling one of the Windy City's favorites, deep dish pizza.
Can You Smoke It is all about thinking outside the box. And that box is your kitchen oven. So we like to experiment things by putting them on the pit and seeing what'll happen that way.
So with that in mind, we're going to be giving Smokey Lee's the day off, and we'll be using the Little Pit, who we like to refer to as Little Joe.
There you go, Little Joe. Yeah, since most people don't have access to a commercial-sized pit, we like to use things that we thought people could get their hands on and use in the average family atmosphere.
So sit back, relax, and we'll meet you in the kitchen to start our prep work.
There you go. Let's do it.
Beef, brisket, bacon, baby back barbecue now. Rub it on, mop it on, slap it on the pit now. Watch it now.
To get started, the ingredients we have laid out here. We have our flour, sugar, cornmeal, yeast of course, some butter, and some salt.
So just so all the viewers know, we're going to start off with our dough prep first. Is that the first step in making sure we get everything together here as we create these pizzas?
Yeah, so the order that you're going to make your pizza is you're going to need dough. And the reason why we mix up the dough first is since we are using yeast, it takes about an hour for it to rise. So we're going to make the dough first. While it's rising, that's when we're going to start our sauce. Because the sauce needs to simmer down because we're putting in all fresh ingredients. We're going to have fresh tomatoes, onions. We're actually going to use garlic from a jar, but you could use fresh garlic. But I like using the minced garlic because you can just spoon it in. And then we're going to put some seasoning in there as well, some salt and some Italian seasoning to give it some flavor. But yeah, that's a lot of wet ingredients, especially the fresh tomatoes. There's a lot of juice in there, so we're going to simmer it down. That takes about an hour to simmer. We're going to use springform pans, and these are great, especially with the deep dish pizza, because once it's cooked, if you use just a straight pan, it's hard to cut into slices and hard to serve. Gotcha. But with the springform, you can just pop off the... Yep. You can
just like that, we can just pop the bottom right out there.
Yeah, preferably do it when it's on the table so the pizza doesn't end up on the floor.
Not that way, yes.
But we're gonna pop off the pan, then you'll see the nice golden crust. So what we're gonna do is start with a cup of warm water.
Okay.
And we're just gonna do that from the tap.
Okay, so we wanna make sure we use warm water. Now, is there any different variances of yeast that will make a difference in this dough recipe at all for us?
Today we're using active dry yeast.
Active dry yeast.
In the past I've used, they have yeast that's specifically for pizza. I like this active dry yeast. And the amount that you're gonna use is, if you buy it by the packet, it's 1 packet. You're gonna use 1 packet. If you buy it by the jar, it gives 2 1/4 teaspoons is a packet.
Okay.
So we're gonna put the yeast in here. We're also gonna put sugar in here to help get it activated.
Okay, all right. Sounds like we're making hooch.
All right, so we're gonna add 2 1/4 teaspoons.
Okay.
I'm just gonna eyeball it here. Now for the yeast here, I like to add about 3 spoonfuls of sugar.
Okay.
So between 2 and 3 tablespoons of sugar should be plenty. And then I'll take a spoon and mix it up in there.
Then what about the most general time would be for a batch of yeast to get active there before you could?
That's actually a good question. It depends on how old your yeast is. Mm-hmm. If it's fresh, it may activate right away.
Okay.
If it's a little bit older, if it's been sitting in your fridge or your freezer, it may take a while. Okay. So it kind of depends. Yeast is a living thing, so there's no set time for how soon it's going to get activated. It just depends on how old it is, how active it is, how healthy it is.
Okay. All right, so we've got our yeast getting active here.
Yep, so we'll set that aside. Now we're going to get to the mixer.
All right.
So we'll just pop that up. you can remove the dough hook. We are going to use a dough hook.
Okay.
So if you can always hand mix it. I like using the power mixer because I like to mix it a long time to really get that. It helps the elasticity of the dough.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so first thing I'm gonna add is 4 cups of flour.
All right.
There's 4. And then we're also, since we're making it Chicago style.
There we go, Chicago style, baby.
We need some cornmeal in there.
Now about how much cornmeal we got there?
I like about half a cup.
Half a cup. So we've got 4 cups of all-purpose flour with a half a cup of cornmeal.
All right, next thing we're gonna add is butter. Now, the butter I like to melt first.
Okay.
And the easiest way to melt it is just pop it in the microwave.
Oh, there we go.
We could probably smoke the butter.
There you go. We should do that. Smoke the butter. We should smoke every ingredient.
We're gonna add about a teaspoon of salt.
All right.
That's about a teaspoon.
There you go. We don't really use a lot of utensils in barbecue. We eyeball a lot of stuff.
I don't like to wash dishes.
Me either, me either.
So as you notice, I'm using the same cup for the flour and the cornmeal and the butter.
And the butter.
And I'm using the wooden spoons on my canisters.
Say no dishes.
Okay, we just took the butter out of the microwave. It's mostly melted. There's one little chunk, but it's soft enough that it'll mix well in the mixer. So we're gonna dump that in there. How's our yeast looking?
Our yeast is looking good. We're starting to get a slight foam back here.
All right, so this yeast, it's getting bubbly. That means it's activated. We can pour it on in there.
All right, lock her in place.
And start it at a slow speed so that we don't make a mess. To me, it looks like it needs some more water because there's some crumbly stuff in there. What we want is for the dough to all come together in one big blob.
Okay.
We need a dough ball.
Okay. So all the dough should be consolidated together, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you can touch it and it doesn't stick to your finger, that's a good amount of moisture.
Okay. All right. So what is the average mix time for a batch of dough like this?
I like to mix it between 2 and 4 minutes.
Okay.
But I like my dough really mixed, and that actually increases the gluten content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the more you mix it, the more rubbery it's going to get. Now, we're not making a rubbery pizza. When we smoke it, it's going to be crispy.
Okay.
But we do want to add as much natural gluten as we can to it.
Gotcha.
All right, we have a pretty good dough ball here. It is not sticky, and I'll pick it up and show it to you.
All right.
This is a good dough ball. It's soft. It's moist.
There you go.
It tastes good.
There you go.
When I set it in there, some people like to put oil in the bowl to prevent it from sticking.
Okay.
I like to just, since we're putting it in the smoker again, I found that oil just makes the dough kind of soggy because that the oven's not getting hot enough.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
the pit's not getting hot enough to burn off that oil and make a crispy crust on the bottom.
Yes, because we are cooking on a much lower temperature. Yes.
If you add oil to it, it's just going to be soggy on the bottom. And we
Gotcha.
don't want a soggy bottom pizza.
No, we do not.
So I just dusted it with flour. We're going to leave it in the bowl. We're going to cover the bowl with a dish towel. We're going to get the dish towel wet.
Okay.
And cover it so that the dough doesn't dry out because
Okay.
it is going to be sitting. And it also keeps any dust particles and other foreign debris from getting in the bowl. And when you set this dough to rise, you don't want to set it out in the sun. You want to just set it on your counter at room temperature, and it should rise nicely in about an hour. We're going to be making our sauce now. We have some onions. We're actually only going to need one of those.
Okay, and see, we got some nice fresh tomatoes here. Now, is there
Yeah.
any type of tomato in particular that we're going to use today?
Just red ones.
Just regular, ripe, vine tomato.
These are already washed. I washed them already. So all we need to do is cut out that little center part that we don't like to eat. Unless you do like to eat it. I don't like to eat it.
No, I don't like to eat that either. I don't think the crust is the favorite part there.
So I cut that out. Then I just quarter these.
Okay.
Or half them, however you want. And we are going to use this little hand cranked salsa maker to chop everything up.
Now, so just in case you're asked, but if someone wanted to cut these up by hand, or if they want to use any sort of other apparatus, what is the goal of the cut that you're looking to get to?
Well, we're making a sauce. The sauce that I like to make almost has like a salsa consistency to it.
Okay, all right.
Since we're putting it on top of the pizza, I like to make it more of like a topping. So a salsa to me is more of, I mean, it's not too chunky, but it's still gonna have some texture to it.
So you know it's made out of fresh tomatoes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
These look really good. A lot of juice coming out.
yeah, these are gonna be very wet, lots of juice. So we are gonna simmer it down. The sauce we're making, we're just gonna use this salsa maker to chop up these tomatoes. I'm not gonna cram all the tomatoes in here because it gets bogged down a little bit.
Okay, so again, we just quartered them and we put them into the salsa.
Yeah, we just chopped them up into smaller chunks, and then this thing is actually gonna do a great job.
Oh, look at that. So again, at home though, folks, this is basically a handheld food processor. If you do have a motorized food processor at home or any other cutting apparatus that can do the same thing, I'm sure it's good to use that also. We just want you to understand the texture of which you're looking to get the tomatoes to, which is like a nice diced fine texture like a salsa, okay?
Okay, so we have this, the first batch chopped up.
All right.
And it's pretty liquidy. Yeah, we're gonna dump it in the pot.
Okay. There's one.
Now we're gonna cut up the rest of our tomatoes and chop those up.
Okay. Tomato number one. Now, is there any particular cutting ware that you would recommend for cutting tomatoes? Because I know a lot of times, man, there's a lot of different advice online and on TV about what kind of knives to use to cut tomatoes because the skin can be so tough. So what would you recommend as far as cutlery ware?
You know, if you have a good sharp knife, it doesn't matter if it's serrated or straight edge, it's gonna cut the tomato.
Okay.
One thing when you're cutting it, you don't want to press straight down. You kind of want to draw it.
Okay.
Draw the knife.
Allow the weight of the knife itself to do the cutting for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it has an edge, and if you kind of pull it, I mean, it's just like if you're thinking about a paper cut. If you hit your finger on a piece of paper, it's not going to cut your finger. It's when you draw your finger across.
There you go.
So think of it that way when you're cutting a tomato. You want to draw it across.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but honestly, I mean, we're not going for looks with these cuts. We're not going to put them on sandwiches.
Right.
So if you kind of butcher the tomato,
It's okay.
it's fine.
For sauce purposes, you're okay.
I mean, you could smash it with your fist if that's the way you want to go with it.
We'll try that on the next episode.
So put all that goodness in.
There we go.
Next, we're going to use maybe 3/4 of an onion.
Okay. Got an onion here.
We're going to cut off the bottom
Okay.
and the top. I'm going to set this quarter aside because we don't have a lot of tomatoes in the sauce. Chop up the onions with the salsa maker.
Okay. I love how onions smell when you first chop them up.
Yeah, we're going to be crying in a minute. All right, so we're going to add the onions to our sauce.
All right.
All right, that onion we'll save for later. Maybe we'll make some fajitas or something.
Okay, last stage of prep for our sauce here.
Yeah, so we have some store-bought minced garlic. I like a lot of garlic.
Oh, who doesn't like a lot of garlic? Tell me about it.
And this already chopped garlic, it does taste different than fresh garlic. So if you're using fresh garlic, you may not want to add quite as much.
Okay. Yes, fresh garlic can be stronger.
It's a little bit stronger typically, but I like to put a couple spoonfuls of this in there. I also like adding a lot of Italian seasoning.
There you go.
I'll put a couple tablespoons in.
Okay.
It may seem like a lot, but after we simmer it, boil it down for an hour, those flavors will really just meld.
All right.
And then salt, you're going to want to add some salt. It just brings out the flavor in the tomatoes.
Okay.
So I'll add maybe like a teaspoon and a half
Okay.
of salt. Now all we have to do is simmer it.
All right.
After it's been simmering for a while, you may want to taste it and see if it needs something else to your liking. Some people may want to add some heat.
Okay.
So if you want to add some like spicy heat, you can put some crushed red peppers or some cayenne pepper. Is it cayenne or cyan?
Cayenne. There you go. Cayenne. Cayenne is fine. Either one. I'm sure somewhere in the world it's cayenne pepper.
All right. So once it's mixed, we're gonna turn down the heat and just let it do its thing.
And we're gonna let this simmer on about what heat for how long here?
We'll put it down to, well, on this gas range, we'll put it down probably a little bit above low.
Okay. So like a medium low, right around that area?
Yeah, medium low.
Okay.
On your stovetop at home, you just don't want to make a mess. So if it starts bubbling and splattering, turn the heat down.
When you want to test your sauce, scoop some up with a slotted spoon. If the majority of the sauce goes through the slots, you need to cook it longer.
The dough, let's see how that looks. Oh, it's looking good.
Oh yeah.
It has definitely doubled in size, if not a little bit more. And that's gonna make a good pizza. I'm gonna take my ring off.
Uh-oh, looks like we're going in with the hands.
So we are gonna make 3 pizzas out of this.
Okay.
2 larger ones, like two 10-inch, and then like a 9-inch, or depending on how much dough we saved, maybe an 8-inch instead.
All right.
So you're gonna just try to divide it up
into thirds.
Into not necessarily thirds, but we'll do 3 balls and make the third one a little bit smaller.
Okay, sounds good.
So 2 about the same size and then 1 a little bit smaller.
Okay.
Okay, now we want to make sure our sauce is ready.
Wow, that smells amazing.
The first pizza we're going to make is going to be a Caribbean jerk chicken.
Okay.
Or Jamaican jerk chicken, however you want to call it.
Gotcha.
And I had already diced up a chicken breast and I pan fried it, and then I tossed it in some Walker's Wood traditional Jamaican jerk seasoning, hot and spicy, and it is really hot and spicy. We're gonna do a Jamaican jerk chicken and some chopped spinach.
Okay.
That's gonna be our 2 toppings for the first pizza.
All right.
Then we're gonna do a pepperoni one, just for everybody likes pepperoni pretty much, so we're gonna do a pepperoni and cheese.
Okay.
And then we'll do a Italian sausage and jalapeno.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
So if you don't like it as spicy, you can do Italian sausage and green pepper,
There you go.
or whatever toppings. Everybody knows what they like on a pizza. All right, so roll out this dough.
First step, what we got?
We have some yellow cornmeal, some of that on the table. We're gonna take our dough ball and just kind of get some cornmeal on there. What this does is it prevents it from sticking to the table.
Okay.
When you roll it out, you're gonna want to make it larger than the pan, because lots of toppings and we need to contain it.
There you go, so we gotta contain it all, huh?
So then you just plop it in there and you're gonna work it around. This might be a little tricky to get the dough to stick to the side. All right.
So what kind of cheese are we gonna use today?
For the cheese, I love mozzarella.
Okay.
That's gonna be a majority of our cheese, but also to add a little variety, we're gonna put some Asiago.
All right.
And we're gonna put some Parmesan on there too.
Okay.
And
so
that's shredded too, not the powdered. Typically, Chicago style has a lot of cheese. When you pick up the pizza, it should feel heavy. It should feel like you know, like a lasagna.
like a casserole in your hands.
You need to know that you're holding a pizza.
There you go. We tend not to have a lot of calcium deficiencies in the Chicago area.
May have other issues.
Same other issues, but no calcium deficiency. We like a lot of cheese.
Alright, so we have a nice big bed of mozzarella.
All right.
Now we're gonna add, this is the Asiago.
Okay.
Gonna spread that evenly around so that every bite gets a little taste of Asiago. Asiago has a unique taste to it. I love melting it on things.
There you go.
Like bagels
Well, I can't wait to smoke it.
and other things. Asiago, I think, is one of my top cheeses.
You know, I'm kind of a Gruyere guy when it comes to the harder cheese, but I am also, my number one cheese, I think I'm gonna have to go with a good smoked Gouda, man.
And then we're gonna add some good old Parmesan. That'll be a nice flavor.
There you go.
All right, we have a lot of cheese there.
A lot of cheese.
And that's what you want in a Chicago style.
We'll make sure we get a close up of you guys here. This is literally a pile of cheese, a mound of cheese in here now.
Next thing is what you would call the toppings.
All right.
But we're putting the toppings on before the sauce.
Okay.
So they're middlings.
That's like middlings.
They're fillings.
Right. We got the bottoms, the middles here. We're doing the
All
middles
right,
next.
so we have the cheese. We're gonna use our
jerk chicken here.
jerk chicken.
Okay.
Just grab it and start spreading it on there.
And now once again, this jerk chicken was just pan sauteed. Andrew pan sauteed this previous to us getting us together here just a few hours ago. And then once he did, he tossed it again in the Walker's Wood traditional jerk Jamaican rub. So this is very good here.
Now we have some chopped spinach, and this is just chopped spinach in the bag that you would find in the grocery store, like the freezer section. Yeah, if you use fresh spinach, you need to definitely make sure that the sauce is covering it because you don't want to burn it.
Right.
All right, the last thing we're gonna do before popping it into the smoker is adding the sauce.
All right.
Now we have this wonderful homemade sauce that we made. It is chunky. Look at that.
Wow.
Piled up on that spoon.
Man, I wish you guys could see that. You can literally see the onions and the garlic. The tomatoes have cooked down. And again, like you said, this really looks like a salsa here. It's got a great salsa kind of consistency to it. So I wish you guys could see this, but this is really good here.
Yeah, this is really, I mean, you have to think of this sauce as its own topping.
Right.
Because that's really what it is.
It's a good hearty sauce there. And and one thing to think about too, folks, is which is really going to give this such a great flavor is the acids from the tomatoes. Because the way we do smoked meat, it is a very rich and savory flavor that we get from the hickory and the pecan wood. So these tomatoes and the sweetness from the tomatoes and the garlic and all that's really going to help to kind of break down that richness and really blend those palates together well.
All right, there is our pizza.
All right,
All
that
we have to do
looks
is
amazing.
smoke it.
All right, so I actually get to have some fun now. All right, folks, we have been cooking our pizzas. As you can see, we've had nightfall, but we've been cooking our pizzas here for 2 hours, and they're just about ready to come off here. So we want to make sure you guys can see what we got going on behind us here. Of course, you can see Smoky Lee's back here in the background, but right here over Andrew's right shoulder, as you can see, we call him Little Joe. And that's what we're cooking on tonight. And so we're cooking on Little Joe. We've been running the fire pit at 275 to 280 constantly for the last 2 hours. So we're ready to take our pizzas out and see exactly how beautiful they look. Our first smoked deep dish pizza's coming up here, Chicago style.
Ooh, that's looking good.
All right.
All right. I can tell right now that I'm betting they're pretty well done. One sign that you want to look for is that the crust is pulling away from the pan a little bit. So I can see that this one especially, it is definitely pulling away from the outside of the pan. And we'll get a close-up to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. The other way you can check if it's done is if you shake the pan a little bit, and if you can hear the pizza kind of shuffle around, you know that the bottom crust is no longer stuck to the bottom. So right now I can feel it and I can hear it shuffling around.
Yeah, so if you can shake or twist the pan and the pizza can move and it's not still gripped to the bottom or to the side of the pan, then Andrew's saying you're pretty much on your done area there.
The other way that you can check is obviously just looking underneath the pizza. So you'd have to take the spring form off. You'd get like a spatula or a knife or something to pry it up, and then you can kind of look underneath to see if it's done, which we're going to do eventually anyway. But if you can shake it a little bit, and if it's sliding around, then you know the bottom of the crust is done.
All right, folks, I cannot tell you how unbelievable these pizzas look. Now, the smell that we're getting from these is not your typical aroma that you would get from an oven-baked pizza. That hickory and that pecan, and like we talked about earlier, the acids from the tomatoes and the natural sweetness from those tomatoes, they have created this unbelievable smell that you get right now. So this is something really different. It's the first time we've ever done this, so I'm excited to taste it. I'm sure Andrew is. So we're gonna let them cool, let them rest here for a short time, and then we're gonna cut them and let you see exactly what we're working with.
But yeah, we'll slice one up. You can see what it looks like. Make sure that it's done. And when you try it at home, which I hope you do, just keep in mind our tips. If you found something that we did that you think you could do better, please let us know. Our contact is at the bottom of this video, so yeah, just shoot us an email or just comment on the bottom of the video.
Exactly. And once again, if you have any ideas or things that you would like to see, that whether you can smoke it or not, send it in to littlenicksbarbecue@gmail.com or
pletsky@gmail.com. All right, so we have all 3 pizzas out.
here we go.
We got a slice of our pepperoni cut. It's kind of like our baseline. If we can do pepperoni right, then the Jamaican jerk chicken and the sausage and jalapeno,
There you go.
will just follow in.
Man, I wish you guys could smell this again. This is unbelievable. It smells amazing. Now, Andrew nor I, we have not tasted this yet. We were just looking. The crust came out unbelievable, as you can see. We got a nice golden brown. You would not know if we didn't tell you that these were not baked in the oven.
Now the moment of truth.
Let's try it out.
We need to eat it.
Here we go. Slice for me, slice for Mr. Andrew here. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
All right. That's good.
That needs to be in a restaurant.
That is amazing. Wow. I wish you guys could try this. The complexities between the tomatoes and the smoke and the cheese and the crust is done to perfection. Got a nice crunch to it. Golden brown under the bottom, along the sides. Oh man, it's got a great texture. Almost kind of like a cracker cookie crunch. It's a great texture to it, and it's nice and soft and moist.
Yeah, the crust is not chewy. It's kind of flaky. If you can see, I mean, you can just
Oh yeah,
break it off.
this is awesome. We should sell this.
We should, but now everybody knows how to make it for themselves. Well, that's all we have for this episode.
Wow.
Tune in next time. We're always looking for suggestions. So
right.
if you have an idea, something that might taste good on a smoker, just let us know.
Let us know.
We'll see if we can do an episode about it.
Or if you're just wondering, can it be done? This is the people who can get it done. So if you're wanting the time or question, can you smoke it? Let us know.
Right. See you next week.
See you next week, guys. Have a good one. This is awesome, bro.